Arcade game character Wreck-It Ralph is tired of always being the bad guy and losing to his good guy opponent, Fix-It Felix. Finally, after decades of seeing all the glory go to Felix, Ralph decides to take matters into his own hands. He sets off on a game-hopping trip to prove that he has what it takes to be a hero. However, while on his quest, Ralph accidentally unleashes a deadly enemy that threatens the entire arcade. Today, we'll recap the story of the 2012 movie, Wreck-It Ralph. In the beginning of the story, we meet Ralph, who is attending a support group called Bat Anon. This group is specifically for the video game villains who reside in the arcade. Ralph shares that he has been doing the same thing for the past 30 years and has not received any recognition for his role. As a result, he no longer wants to be the bad guy. The other members of the group remind him that he cannot alter the programming of his game. The meeting then comes to an end, and Ralph is left feeling disheartened. As Ralph makes his way back to his game via Game Central Station, which is a power strip consisting of surge protectors that power all the arcade games, he notices a party in full swing at the Niceland Apartments. Even Pac-Man is among the guests, but Ralph is disappointed that he wasn't invited. He tries to enter the party, but upon seeing a cake that has the Nicelanders and Felix on top and himself in a pit at the bottom, he becomes angry. A Nicelander belittles him by calling him the bad guy who causes destruction, and this makes Ralph so furious that he destroys the cake before storming out. His main goal now is to get a medal of his own and show that he is capable of being a hero. Ralph visits Tapers, a bar game, but is uncertain about what to do. He meets a soldier from a new first-person shooter called Hero's Duty. The soldier is extremely anxious due to his bug-hunting mission. However, when Ralph learns about a medal at the end of the game, he eagerly takes the soldier's armor and goes to Hero's Duty by traveling through Game Central Station. At the station, Ralph meets Q-Bert, a homeless character whose game has been unplugged, and tells him about his destination before leaving. Excited about the new game, Ralph joins the squadron led by Sergeant Calhoun. However, he realizes that he is out of his depth when the game begins and they are attacked by giant mechanical cybugs. These creatures have the ability to take on the characteristics of whatever they consume. Ralph accidentally gets a child playing the game killed, and the game ends abruptly. During this time, a colossal beam of light emerges from the top of the nearby tower, which attracts the cybugs and destroys them as they enter its light. As the game reset for the next player, Ralph discovered that the medal he desired was located at the tower's peak. He removed his armor and climbed up, eventually finding himself in a chamber filled with cybugs' eggs. Despite this, he persevered and reached the medal, which had the word hero inscribed on it, suspended in the room's center. As he retrieved it, a group of holographic soldiers appeared and saluted him for his success. In his achievement, Ralph accidentally crushed one of the eggs, causing a cybug hatching to attack him. He tried to flee in an escape pod, but the cybug managed to get on board, and they were sent hurtling through the portal to Game Central Station. After bouncing around the station, they were both ejected into a racing game called Sugar Rush. Ralph crash-landed in one direction, while the cybug fell into a deep pit in another. In the game Fix-It Felix Jr., the characters realize that Ralph is missing when a player attempts to play the game, and the wrecking guy fails to show up. This causes the players to panic, leading the arcade's owner, Mr. Litwick, to be informed, and an out-of-order sign to be placed over the game. The game's characters are worried about Ralph's whereabouts, but are surprised when Q-Bert shows up and says that Ralph was seen entering the game Hero's Duty. Felix, worried that without Ralph the game will be shut down and their existence will end, decides to venture into Hero's Duty to find Ralph. He is almost killed by Sergeant Calhoun and her soldiers, but manages to explain that he is searching for Ralph. As he spends more time with Calhoun, he begins to fall in love with her high-definition looks. After leaving the game, they discover which way the escape pod went and journey to Sugar Rush. Calhoun is concerned about the possibility of the game being overrun by cybugs, which can multiply when they have access to plenty of food, such as the sweets and candies found in Sugar Rush. In the meantime, Ralph stumbled upon his medal hanging on a candy cane tree alongside a young girl named Vanellope von Schweetz. However, before he could reach it, Vanellope took the medal for herself. Ralph then made it his mission to locate her. Vanellope seized the opportunity to use the medal as a substitute for a game coin in a crucial race that would determine the top 9 racers in the Leader King Candy for the next day's arcade play. This is how the game randomly selects new racers each day. Unfortunately, when Candy noticed Vanellope's entry on the board, he commanded his followers to capture her. Ralph rushed onto the starting line, causing chaos in his attempt to reach Vanellope before anyone else. After being captured, Ralph is taken to see King Candy, who is surprised to see a game character jumping from one game to another. Ralph insists that he just wants his medal back, but the king tells him that it's now part of the game's programming and can only be retrieved by winning the race. Feeling upset, Ralph leaves the king's castle and seeks several racers nearby. He thinks he could ask them to win the race for him, but his attention is diverted when he witnesses the other racers harassing Vanellope, a glitch character, and destroying her pedal cart. Ralph intervenes, scaring off the bullies, and Vanellope proposes a deal to him. She offers to win back Ralph's medal in exchange for his help in getting a new cart for the race. Though hesitant at first, Ralph eventually agrees to the alliance. In the meantime, Felix and Calhoun stumbled upon the crashed escape pod, but couldn't find Ralph or the cybug. Calhoun used a bug detector to locate the bug, but the sugar particles in the air disrupted the device's focus. Along their journey, they found themselves trapped in a Nesquik sandpit, but with the help of Laffy Taffy hanging from the trees, Felix was able to pull them out. After the incident, Felix brought up the term turbo in reference to Ralph leaving his game. Calhoun was puzzled by the term, prompting Felix to explain its origin. Turbo was the name of a character in an old arcade racing game called Turbotastic. He was a self-centered racer who left his game and entered a new one called Road Blasters, causing havoc and leading to the unplugging of both games. It is presumed that Turbo perished as he couldn't return to his original game. In the world of Sugar Rush, Ralph and Vanellope sneak into a kart baking factory, where Ralph does his best to help Vanellope with the car's design. However, his efforts end up making a mess, but Vanellope still loves it and even has Ralph add his signature and icing. Unfortunately, their intrusion is discovered by King Candy and his police force, who quickly arrive on the scene. Ralph instructs Vanellope to start driving, but she reveals that she doesn't know how to drive a cart. To evade the police, Ralph uses his oversized hands to push them away, and they manage to escape when Vanellope leads him to a secret entrance near Diet Cola Mountain. Once inside, Ralph discovers a massive pit with Mantos stalactites hanging above it. When one drops into the soda, it triggers a geyser of hot liquid. Nearby, Ralph discovers where Vanellope lives. She has taken refuge inside a mountain because she is disliked by everyone and hasn't been given a chance to prove that she can race. Ralph sees that Vanellope only wants an opportunity to demonstrate her skills just like him. Therefore, he decides to help her learn how to race her vehicle. On the day of the big race, Vanellope realizes that she needs to retrieve something from the mountain. While she's away, King Candy arrives and offers to return Ralph's hero medal. He agrees to give it back on the condition that Ralph stops Vanellope from racing. King Candy tells Ralph that preventing Vanellope from racing is necessary to save her life, but Ralph refuses to comply. Vanellope is a glitch in the game, which means she faces difficulties in maintaining a stable racing performance, and may suddenly appear in different parts of the game. If the players don't accept her as a racer, the game could be shut down. However, since Vanellope is a glitch, she cannot escape to Game Central Station and will be permanently deleted from the game. After the king leaves, Vanellope returns and gives Ralph a heart-shaped cookie medal, calling him a snotbrain, but also her hero for helping her. However, Ralph urges her to reconsider the race when she sees that he has his hero medal back. He tells her what the king told him, but Vanellope insists on racing anyway, claiming that he's trying to save her life. In an attempt to stop her from racing, Ralph hangs Vanellope from a nearby tree and destroys her cart. Devastated that Ralph ruined her chance, Vanellope accuses him of being a bad guy and runs off to her hideout. At the king's castle, Felix and Calhoun have gone separate ways, with Calhoun continuing her search for the cybug while Felix heads towards the castle door. There, Felix encounters the king's assistant, a rather unfriendly character. Upon discovering that Felix is from Ralph's game, the assistant directs him to the king's function. After getting his medal back, Ralph returns to his game only to find that the Niceland apartments are empty, except for one tenant who tells him that everyone else has gone to Game Central Station for safety. Despite claiming that he has a medal that proves he is a hero, he realizes that it's no longer important to prove himself, as the game may be unplugged soon if it doesn't work properly. Feeling upset that he has caused trouble for his game in Vanellope, Ralph throws his hero medal at the arcade game, causing the out-of-order sign to move slightly. To his surprise, he sees the gaming console for Sugar Rush, and notices that Vanellope, who is considered a glitch, is featured on the advertising graphics for the game on its console. After leaving Vanellope, Ralph goes back to Sugar Rush and makes his way towards Titular Mountain. Upon arrival, he finds the king's Cyberball cleaning up the remains of Vanellope's kart. Ralph persuades the Cyberball to reveal that King Candy tampered with Vanellope's code, but the Cyberball has no idea why. The Cyberball also informs Ralph that both Vanellope and Felix are being held captive in the king's dungeon. Ralph then takes the broken pieces of Vanellope's cart in a garbage can and sets out to rescue them. Ralph first rescues Felix, and the two make amends as Felix finally comprehends why Ralph acted strangely during the party. Using Felix's magical hammer, they fix Vanellope's cart and manage to free her from captivity. Ralph admits to his foolishness and apologizes to Vanellope. As the race commences, Vanellope sprints ahead, leaving Felix and Ralph behind at the starting point. However, Calhoun arrives and informs them that the Cybug has feasted on the hidden reserves of Sugar Rush, resulting in a massive army of bugs. In no time, they swarm around the stadium. Despite Calhoun's efforts to eliminate them, their numbers prove to be overwhelming. She urgently instructs the nearby individuals to head towards the portal leading to Game Central Station. Since the game is overrun by the creatures, ending the game is the only solution. Ralph decides to stay at the finish line as long as possible, realizing that Vanellope's escape hinges on her crossing the finish line. Meanwhile, the race carries on and Vanellope finally catches up to King Candy. As they engage in a fierce car-to-car battle, the king begins to glitch, revealing that he is Turbo in disguise. It becomes evident that he had taken control of Sugar Rush and locked up the memories of the other racers, turning Vanellope into a glitch. Fortunately, Vanellope manages to escape and uses her glitching abilities to break free from Turbo's grip and speed into first place. Turbo tries to catch up, but a Cybug appears and devours him. As Vanellope approaches the finish line, a swarm of Cyberbugs obstructs her path and causes her car to derail. Ralph comes to her rescue, and together they head towards the portal leading to Game Central Station, while the Cybugs devour the finish line. Most of the other characters manage to escape, but Vanellope remains trapped. Meanwhile, Calhoun fights off the Cybugs and reveals the only way to stop them is with a beam of light, similar to the one in Hero's Duty. Ralph suddenly remembers the Mentos stalactites at Titular Mountain and devises a plan. He took a hoverboard from Calhoun and flew towards the mountain to dislodge the Mentos at the top using his fists. He wanted to create a new beam of killing light. But his plan was disrupted by the appearance of a Cybug that resembled King Candy and Turbo in both colors and head. The tyrant was now newly powered up and knocked Ralph around, claiming to be the most powerful virus in the arcade. He sought revenge and aimed to take over all the other games. Ralph fought Turbo, but the latter disliked being stopped and quickly overpowered Ralph. He flew Ralph above the mountain and sarcastically forced him to watch the Cybugs close in on Vanellope. Ralph found a way to stop Turbo's revenge and broke free from Cybug Turbo. He aimed towards the Mentos and hit them, causing them to fall towards the cola pit deep within the mountain. Luckily, Vanellope got back in her cart and with her glitching power, managed to save Ralph before the major eruption. The eruption emitted a bright light that attracted most of the Cybugs, leading to their destruction. Although Turbo was more powerful than the others, he managed to resist for a short period of time before his Cybug programming overwhelmed him, causing him to fly into the lava and perish. This also resulted in the permanent destruction of the Cybugs and Turbo, as video game characters who die outside of their game are unable to regenerate. As a result of Turbo's demise, Vanellope was able to cross the finish line, and the brainwashed memories of the other players were reprogrammed, restoring her to her rightful position as the Princess of Sugar Rush, and a genuine character once more. However, Vanellope expressed her disinterest in being a princess and suggested that a government led by a president would be more suitable for her, and Turbo was never heard from again. After the events, Felix and Calhoun tie the knot, even though their games prevent them from being together during the day in the arcade. Vanellope is now a regular racer in Sugar Rush, but she continues to use the car that Ralph helped her build. Her ability to glitch makes her very popular with the players. As for Ralph, he finally earns recognition and appreciation from the Nicelanders. Although he still gets thrown off the top of the apartment building in his game, he finds joy in looking through the glass of the video game box and watching his friend Vanellope pursuing her passion. And that's a wrap for our Wreck-It Ralph recap. We hope you enjoyed reliving all the fun and games of the arcade world with Ralph, Vanellope, and the rest of the gang. But now, it's time to switch gears and fly into a whole new adventure. Get ready to soar through the skies with Hiccup and Toothless in the epic movie How to Train Your Dragon. From one fantastical world to another, we guarantee that you won't want to miss a single moment. So buckle up, click this video, and I'll see you there.